just as much uh, involvement and commitment to know more about this issue. And so thank you very much. I'm Kelvin Baker. I'm your deputy city manager, and in just a few minutes I'll be introducing our mayor. But before doing so, I do want to recognize our city manager that just walked in the room, City Manager Roy Virgin, and our Assistant City Manager Adam Burton. Right. And we have a great deal of talent in terms of our city employees. Would you give them a hand? They've been doing a very good job. So without further ado, we are going to have our great mayor, Mayor Wayne Masson, to come up at this time, and I believe there may be some other dignitaries here that will yield to him to recognize. But thank you all so much for being here with us, and put your seatbelts on and prepare yourself to get well informed. Thank you very much.
Is my mic? Oh, okay. You can hear me, right? Okay. Good evening. Good to see everybody. Wow. I wish it wasn't this proposed incinerator that, I just send out a message to bring everyone here and everyone just shows up just on a regular basis. But this is a serious matter. And I do want to thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to learn about where we are as relates to the incinerator. Before I get into the presentation, you heard from our deputy manager, Kelvin Baker, who's been doing a great job from the staff side in leading this effort. I would like to introduce some of our friends, some of our neighbors, and some of our delegations in Tallahassee that has been representing us well on this issue as well. And first, I'd just like to introduce our state representative for this area, Robin Bartleman. She's been showing up, giving of her time and anything that she can do, and you'll hear from her later. As well as the mayor of our sister city in Pembroke Pines, Mr. Angelo Castillo. Mayor, we thank you and Pembroke Pines for your unwavering support on this issue and in fighting this incinerator. So I notified our staff after last Tuesday's meeting to say that I would like to have a town hall meeting to address the community, to be able to provide information. Whenever you're talking about controversial issues like this, there's always a notion for rumors, hearsay, and no one really knows the facts, especially with social media and Nextdoor and all these platforms. Posts and comments tend to take a life of its own. So I wanted to provide an official update as well as be able to provide a time for questions and answers from the community. We will do our best to answer questions as direct, as frank as possible, to the best of our ability based off the information that is known at this time. Uh-oh, okay. Did I turn the screen off? Okay. All right, so tonight, here's what we'll cover. We'll cover the issue at hand, the Miami-Dade County Commission meeting results, or at least the direction given by the chair and the commission to the mayor and staff, options being considered by Miami-Dade County, future actions, and a period for Q&A. This is the second slide, correct? One more? Okay. All right, so as you all know, Miami-Dade County is proposing a mass burn industrial campus to replace the incinerator that burned down in Doral back in February of 2003. Their master plan that was commissioned by the previous mayor at the time, Mayor Jimenez, to address solid waste disposal in Miami-Dade County. Their production and their aging incinerator threaten their ability to be able to continue their growth pattern, as well as to handle the garbage that's being produced, not only by their residents, but because Miami is a port city, a cruise destination, they have many sources that add to the garbage stream. So in other words, they're in a very urgent situation to begin the process to build an incinerator to be able to meet their disposal needs, because the time period to build an incinerator can be anywhere from 7 to 10 years, and that's really without any hiccups along the way. So there were initially 3 recommended or proposed sites from that master plan, and back in last September, Mayor Levine Cava recommended the Airport West site. That is the site that's just 1/8 of a mile from Sunset Lakes community. We got word, we jumped right on board to raise question. We had an initial meeting with Mayor Levine Cava. We had some very stern and frank conversations, because they stated that there were no residents near this facility. It was the northwestern location that they owned that they felt they could put this incinerator. A year fast forward, those 3 sites were still, we were able to avert that recommendation just moving forward. The commission directed the mayor and staff to not put any preferences on the 3 sites, do some preliminary, what they call environmental air tests to see the viability of the 3 sites. They all came back good. And obviously with some notes that Airport West was still the best site. So on September 7th, where they were supposed to make the decision, the meeting was kicked back another 2 weeks. And then you all who were there, know the results, so we'll go into that in a minute. But a 4th site came up before that meeting, and that's Airport Road, a parcel of land on Airport Road, a tree farm that's only 1/2 a mile south of the Airport West site. Our position was that we opposed both sites. With that stated, in terms of the locations, we launched an opposition campaign in partnership with our neighboring cities and environmental groups to oppose Airport West site. Now, because of the sensitivity and the sensitive nature of this, it was very easy to take an anti-Doral position as a city. Well, it was in Doral, it burned down in Doral, why not build it back in Doral? The answer to that question, based off the mayor's recommendation, is that, oh, it can't hear, okay. Oh, here, okay, all right, let me turn this off. Is that better? Okay, all right. This was, I was gonna use this in the first place, but they handed me this, so, from the beginning? I was like, oh my gosh. I still have to get home and cook dinner, so I mean, like, but your city, we put on a very aggressive campaign to fight this. We retained perhaps one of the best environmental attorneys that you can find on this subject matter regarding the Everglades, the sensitivity of our natural resources, and the threats. And in combination with the efforts of our staff and our consultant, I believe, were able to navigate this process to at least put us in the best position that we can be in, meaning where we are right now. Currently, right now, Airport West still hasn't been selected. We're still on life support. And we just look forward to crossing that finish line. No, wrong way. That's the next slide, right? Okay. Okay, I did go through some of these steps. So the item was deferred. Majority of the commissioners voted to not accept Airport West recommendation. And the two options are being considered: rebuilding in Doral and building in Medley. So here's where we are right now from the September 17th. This is what we were facing. The commission directed the mayor to recommend a site for the September 7th meeting, which was kicked back to September 14th because that fourth site came into play. The mayor still recommended Airport West to be selected at that 17th meeting. In the process, we worked very hard working behind the scenes, meeting with every commissioner that would meet with us, and pretty much most of them met with us, most of them in person, a few virtually. And what we did is that we really underscored why Airport West 1 was not a permittable site and why it doesn't make sense. I'm going to take about 40 seconds to share with you why, so that you can understand. Not just because how close it is to us, but it literally makes no sense in any form or fashion. The Airport West site abuts, literally is right against the C9 impoundment area. The C9 impoundment area is the area just west of us, between us and US 27. Over $1 billion between the federal government and the state of Florida has been invested to ensure the capture of surface water storage and retention of water to recharge the Biscayne Aquifer that all of South Florida draws their water from. That includes Miramar, Pembroke Pines, Miami-Dade County, Wassa. All of the main utilities pull from this aquifer. So to put this incinerator right against it makes no sense, because every incinerator requires an ash landfill beside it. Because once they burn the trash, the residue, the toxic residue, is stored on site. It's like taking a cigarette or cigar ashtray and pouring it on top of your pristine, clean water, literally. That's the first reason. Second, although they tout that new incineration technology is so-called clean and energy efficient or neutral, and are not like the old incinerators like Old Smoky, or even the one that burnt down in Doral. They claim and tout the ones that exist in Europe, meaning neighborhoods are right around them. Even in the report, they said that the emissions was no more than you're walking down the sidewalk and a car driving by and the exhaust that comes from the car, right? Let me ask you, would you want your child putting their face up against a car exhaust pipe, right? It just doesn't make sense. Now, to add insult to injury, we are now discovering that we have an alarming issue that the EPA is rendering decisions on how to manage, and that is, you may have heard of this word, PFAS. These are forever chemicals. These chemicals cannot be cleaned. They hang around. They're toxic. Incineration technology can kill it, but there is no data that shows consistent elimination of PFAS, which means it will be in that ash landfill, and it will also be emitted from the stacks that will come from the incineration. These newer incineration tend to scrub the smoke that you see from the stereotypical incineration, but just because you may not be able to see it or smell it, it still can kill you. It's still toxic. There's still metals. There's still carcinogenic output from these facilities. And the last I checked, when you think about carbon monoxide, can you see it? Can you smell it? Can it kill you? Right. So that's why we don't want it, by our home. So I'll stop there, and I won't even talk about the threats it has to endangered species that are there, like the bonneted bat and the snail kite, the same endangered species that killed the Miami Wild Project in front of Zoo Miami. It was supposed to be this big water park across from Zoo Miami, and they lost the federal lawsuit, and the developers had to kill that project. So because there will be so many litigations and regulatory challenges to this permitting process, we urge the commissioners, don't do this. What you think you're doing in terms of making a decision will only force a long, drawn out process that none of us will see the building of this incineration in our lifetime. So we think that was a part of it. The other challenge is that from the direction that came from that meeting, currently right now, what was stated from the dais, there's a majority members on that commission that will vote to put the incinerator back in Doral. And their test is that they want Doral to pay for the cost it would be to relocate it. Because if they just build it right now, there would just be the cost to build. But there's a premium to build it at another site. To the tune, per one of the commissioners, is expecting Doral to pay $400 million. That payment will be made mostly in part by the anticipated increase in property value because the incinerator is removed from Doral. So they will use the TIF, which is basically a tax increment financing. In other words, kind of like how a CRA operates. They would cap the property value where it is today. And as the years go by, any property appreciation due to development and demand of real estate in Broward County would be then used to pay down that $400,000. Million. Just testing to see if you're paying attention. So with that stated, it's a very difficult situation. Now, our position has been that first, Miramar, we believe incineration technology belongs in no one's neighborhood. All right? It belongs in no one's neighborhood. Second, Airport West is not the site. We have not gone into a debate in saying where it should go. That's Miami-Dade's decision to make. It's not Miramar's. We're not in the business of putting neighbors against neighbors. We're saying that there's a better way to dispose of trash. There's newer technologies to dispose of trash. Challenge yourselves to see how the stream can be reduced so incineration technology is no longer needed. So, because once you build it, you have to continue to feed it. Even if Miami-Dade County builds the incinerator, then now adopts a zero waste policy and is very successful to the point where waste stream is reduced, guess what? They still have debt service on that incinerator. Then what's gonna happen? Then they'll begin to import garbage from other counties, from other states, or maybe from other countries, right next to our homes to feed that animal. So I've spent some added time just to give you some context in terms of why this is so important, so that as you are having the discussions, you can frame your conversations with the facts in terms of why it's so important, why it's so dangerous, why it's so harmful to our water supply, why it's so harmful to our human health, and why just the fiscal economics of this thing just does not make sense. I talked about the situation about Doral and Medley. So here are the two options that are being weighed right now. If the incinerator is built in Doral, it has a proposed cost. Obviously, then Doral wouldn't have to pay $400 million because it's still in Doral. The disadvantage per Miami-Dade County's mayor is that it does not allow them to fulfill the recommendations from their master plan, which called for a consolidated campus where they would have the incinerator, the ash landfill, and other perhaps a recycling facility, all co-located in one location. That's what their goal is. So they need the acreage. The Doral site is not large enough to accommodate all components of the site. So that's from a staff perspective, that is why Doral doesn't check all of the boxes. Just so that, because you're asking the question, why are they moving it from Doral? Why not build it back? But from that perspective, that is why, that was one of the reasons why they, and I won't get into the politics, but in terms of the recommendation. The Medley site is a site about a mile or mile and a half north of Doral. Here's the contention Doral has about the site being placed in Medley. Doral still would be forced to pay for the relocation because of in their estimation, the proximity of the Medley site to Doral is basically still close or in Doral and would still impact them. Why would they have to pay to move? Okay. On the county side, if they put it in Medley, the Medley site is large enough for the consolidated campus. They would not have to build the transfer station in Doral because of the location. The trucks can still just, if they're going to Doral now, they can just go to Medley. It's only a couple of miles away. If they built it in Airport West, they would need to build the transfer station in Doral regardless. But because of the proximity, they wouldn't have to. Doral would save a little because the transfer station wouldn't have to be built. So, but it's still a big pill to swallow. Now, go back to Medley. Now, the Medley site, the property owner initially in the beginning offered his site for $200 million for the county to purchase, to build. When they compared all of the site, the engineering and construction of the incinerator plus the acquisition of the land from the property owner still was comparable, still was less than building it at Airport West, if I remember. So I know 200 million sounds like a lot, but it's a lot. It's a large parcel of land, and the value, and it already had the solid waste zoning entitlement, so there wouldn't have had to be a zoning process. With that said, he said that he would give all of the proceeds to charity once it was purchased. Did not put that site in a favorable position on any of the recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners, which we could not understand. Now, at an 11th hour proposition, he communicated to the commission chair that he would make his land available for a land swap with Airport West for their site, dollar for dollar value or any parcels. When he made that recommendation at the county in his letter, he said that he could make it, with the land swap, he could make it into a quarry. We had a discussion on Tuesday in between the meetings, and he asked what we thought about it. He had no idea about White Rock Quarry and what we're enduring right now with the blasting. I said, under no circumstances would we support or could endorse a quarry being built. You obviously have no clue on what we're dealing with White Rock Quarry. And then he understood that prospects. His whole point was that I'll do a land swap with the county, just give me dollar for dollar value on county owned land. And that's what he expressed. But I've received questions because he said that, the rumor mill is that Airport West now will become a quarry. Okay. That's not the case. That's not the case, or that's nothing that we would support. Okay. So right now, the property owner is working a plan to see how a land swap could be possible or could work. All right. So we'll be working with the landowner. I won't necessarily go into details in terms of what those conversations may be. But do know that we will be representing the city, and with the end result of Airport West not becoming anything. It just should be some park or some green space that it is right now. So that's where those options are. So on November 5th, mark your calendars. There is a lot going to take place between now and November 5th. We have a very large and very important and visible, no, November 6th. I'm sorry, November 6th. Thank you. Just checking to see if you're listening. The election, because I'm talking about the elections. That's why I'm saying the 5th. November 5th is a big election. We'll be electing a new president. We will be electing, perhaps retaining a U.S. senator or electing a new U.S. senator. And you have so many other down ballot races. We are going to be bombarded within 30 days. Come in 2 more weeks, every station you turn on, there's going to be political advertisements, things that will distract us, okay? It will distract us. I don't think it's a coincidence it's being held on the 6th. It's just the first meeting. It's just that they meet twice a month like we do in the city of Miramar. In fact, election day is actually the day they would have had their commission meeting. They meet on the 1st and 3rd Tuesday of every month. And election day falls on that first Tuesday. And when that happens, if it's a holiday or elections, they have their meeting the following day on the Wednesday, and they need to make the decision. I do believe on that day, on the 6th, a decision will be made. A decision will be made. The question is, will commission members hold to their comments as it relates to what they will require out of Doral, and combined with what the proposal from the Medley property owner will look like, and if it's something that the county could agree to, or at least from a recommendation standpoint from the mayor's office. So we will be working very diligently with the Miami-Dade County Commission Chair and the commission members, as well as working with the state of Florida, the governor's office, with our state Representative Bartleman, as well as other elected officials, as it relates to ensuring that the governor and the legislature are aware of this threat to the enormous amount of investments into the Everglades restoration and clean water supply. To this day, agencies are still just now becoming aware of this proposal, like the U.S. Corps of Engineers, the EPA nationally and at the state of Florida. They are aware of this issue. However, the state and federal agencies can't take a political position. They can't respond to an application that they have yet to receive. There's nothing for them to comment. These are civil servants that prosecute administrative action based off of requests as it relates to their agency. So until an actual application comes forward, they won't be able to respond. Now, before I go on to the next slide, worst case scenario, let's say Airport West is selected, right? Let's say Airport West is selected. We are preparing ourselves for that, right? I'm an old football guy, I was blessed to play in college all the way to the NFL. But guess what? When we practice goal line offense, goal line defense. We practice 3rd and long, 3rd and short. Whatever the analytics is, we had to prepare for every scenario that could perhaps come up in a ball game. So we're not surprised. We studied the opposition. What is the tendency? When the Miami Dolphins are 3rd and 6, 60% of the time, they throw a pass, right? So what's going to happen when we're playing against the Dolphins and it's 3rd and 6? We're going to call the pass defense, bring in the, well, I'm getting down into the weeds. But in this case, but I know there's a lot of you that understand what I'm saying. But in this case, we would then gear up for the permitting process, the regulatory process. We will have an objection at every application process, and we're not alone. We have strong partners with our neighboring cities. We have allies in the Florida legislature. We have the best consultants working with us. And we also have all of the enviros, the environmental organizations. What was so powerful in this process, environmental organizations like the Tropical Audubon Society, the Florida Audubon, the very powerful and conservative Everglades Foundation, they all sent a joint letter to the mayor and the commissioner saying how Airport West makes no sense. And they stood with us and agreed with us. All of these organizations will be by our side in this process. It's a process that we should not have to go to, but we are prepared. Wait, I think we're going to, these slides, help me out if you all can. Okay, so as I said, we're meeting with the property owner in Medley. We have, the first thing we've always said is that we will file suit, even if it has to be a class action suit. There are many claims we can make, whether it says relates to the Clean Water Act, the Endangered Species Act, class action lawsuit as it relates to a Florida statute that allows claims to be made when industrial accidents, industrial developments impact or injure body or property. One example is when in the Gulf, there was I don't know if it was a petroleum spill or some kind of chemical spill, and it killed all the fish. There was a class action lawsuit that was brought up by the fishers, not just because they lost revenue, but because the reputation of fish from that region was injured. Because who wants to buy fish from contaminated habitats and water, right? So what will happen to our property values if this thing is built, right? What if it could be documented that the emissions has so much exceedances beyond what is allowed? A spill would be unforgivable. You have that ash landfill beside it. Once it's there, the air blows it. That will impact our property values. It'll impact our health. There are many claims, right? Obviously, a lawsuit is just a lawsuit until you litigate it, right? But we have options. As I said before, I'm going to be as blunt, as straightforward as possible. We just want you to know that your city is prepared. We don't care about the size of Miami-Dade County. And when you all showed up on Tuesday, it was so encouraging to see the community come together in large numbers. Many of you got up 4 o'clock in the morning to get on those buses to go down to Miami-Dade County. And that's what it's going to take. So we want you to stay engaged. We want you to stay informed. All right. Don't make this an issue about Miramar versus Doral. We're being focused on why Airport West just does not make sense. Let's stay focused on that issue. Let's continue to tell our story, because we all bought our homes here. We raised our families here. Whether you've been here for 25 years or if you've only been here for 25 days, we're all one family. And we have to stick together. We have to stay together and continue to fight for our quality of life. And you can go ahead and turn to the next slide if it's not. I think I just said all of that. And so the item will be discussed November 6th. So stay tuned. If you have not signed up to receive notifications, we have our city staff here that can give you the links so that you can stay engaged. And when you see something of note, tag someone else. Text it to them. Don't just keep the information to yourself, and let's keep everyone engaged. Now, we will have a time for questions. I have a few rules. If you want to ask a question, we have mics on to your right and in the center. If you can just walk to the mic, ask one question because others have questions. Don't monopolize the mic. So as you all are coming forward, I want to invite our state representative, Robin Bartleman, to share some few comments.
Thank you. So I just want to let you know what good hands you're in. Your mayor and this commission has provided outstanding leadership. I cannot believe the organization that's going on in this city. You're in very, very good hands. Can you give him another round of applause? Not only have they hired the best environmental attorneys, they've got the campaign going on, they've got the buses, they're organizing you. I see bus benches all over. That's what you want from your mayor. And he's going to protect you, your children, and your property values. So you guys are very, very lucky. Now, to tell you what I've been doing, this all came to head when I was in session. So I started meeting with the Everglades Foundation, the Florida EPA. We have a bipartisan environmental caucus. And what the mayor is saying is very important and very relevant. This is in the C9 Basin. We have 2 fully funded Everglades restoration projects. Fully funded. That's a big deal when you have all the money to get it done. And this will impact those projects, and everyone is aware of it. What you need to know is that you have to be pragmatic when you go to Tallahassee. I have passed 12 bills in 4 years because I work with across the aisle and I work with environmental groups, and I know what will fly and will not fly. If someone says, just make a law to ban all incinerators, that's not going to happen. That's going to be a very, very heavy lift. There are going to be other strategies to get this done. And we're working on bill language as it speaks. I'm not going to share my strategies now. We're going to get the language. We're going to submit it. I'm going to work alongside the mayor. If we want to have someone else run it, we're going to have someone else run it. But we're going to work as a team to make sure whatever we propose in Tallahassee gets passed, because it has to pass through 2 chambers. And the biggest deal right now is that it's abuts the Everglades. And the governor and every legislator and every person on that Miami-Dade Commission committed to protecting the Everglades. So you don't just have, the city and me, you have the Sierra Club, you have the Everglades Foundation, you have Florida Rising, you have every single nonprofit group who fights to protect our environment on board. And so what it's going to be is a strategy that we can get all of the votes we need to get this passed. In the meantime, the town of Southwest Ranches has started a zero waste initiative, because remember, we have a lot of garbage, right? And how many of you recycle? How many of you recycle the right way so you're not contaminating the recycling facilities? Because this isn't the only incinerator. They're talking about another incinerator off of 27, and that's why the mayor is very involved from Pines as well, right across the street from the Everglades as well. So there has to be a 2-pronged approach. 1, to protect our environment, and 2, to responsibly dispose of our trash in the best means necessary. And zero waste is it's like a heavy, heavy lift. Gainesville currently has a zero waste initiative. So it's something that the county needs to look at. I've been attending the county meetings. It's something they're looking at. So we have to do this twofold. But the primary thing we need to do right now is make sure that that site is not selected to protect our most precious, valuable asset, the Florida Everglades. So I'm committed to working with all of you. I'm committed to working with your mayor and your commissioner. As soon as bill drafting opens up, I'll be part of the updates as to what we're doing in terms of legislation. But I want you to know that I have the whole environmental caucus on it, and we're going to find something that can pass and cross the finish line and get signed by the governor. Okay. So it's an honor to represent you. And just know that you are so lucky that Wayne Messam and this commission is in place, because they're absolutely protecting you.
Thank you, Representative Barterman. Okay, if we can, okay, yes, sir. Okay, yeah, they're asking you to go to the mic because we're capturing this, so.
What role is the Broward County playing in this process?
Well, in this process, Broward County has not played any role. And I'm going to. Well, the short of it is this. Broward County has to solve its own problem. All right. So right now, Broward County, which is different from Miami-Dade County, has established a solid waste authority. That governance has just been adopted. There is almost every Broward city, except for a handful, are participating. Among those Broward cities, there is an executive committee of a smaller number of cities that makes the recommendation, and then it is ratified by the rest of the members. Miramar is an active participant at the executive level. The Solid Waste Authority just commissioned a master plan on the future of solid waste disposal, similar to Miami-Dade County, but the difference is Miami-Dade County's master plan did not fully contemplate zero waste strategies. The one in Broward will look at all forms of technology to process our waste in Broward County. Once that recommendation comes forward, then the Solid Waste Authority will make its recommendation. Now, the county is a participant and is a member of the Solid Waste Authority, but they're more than just a member, because solid waste really falls under the responsibility of Broward County through this Solid Waste Authority. Broward County controls the viable properties that would be used for any solution coming out from that master plan study. So in short, it's very difficult for Broward County to tell Miami-Dade County what it can or should not do in Miami-Dade County, when Broward County also will have to consider the same decisions that Miami-Dade is, which could include mass incineration. The other sites, the Monarch Hill site owned by Waste Management, they decommissioned the mass burn facility there because Waste Management is all about landfilling. In fact, they're trying to increase their capacity now because they're about to run out of space at the landfill. So they want to go higher. Landfilling is just horrible. With all the leaching, it's just horrible. Wheelabrator, which is the incinerator off of 595 Turnpike interchange just west of the airport, is where we're burning trash right now. So Broward County really is not in the best decision to be our advocate. Even if they were, this is our city, our town. We have the most to lose. So we have taken this charge. So I can't speak for Broward County. All I do know is that Pembroke Pines, Southwest Ranches, Miramar, we have already shot the bow to say that we will not support mass incineration at the Broward County landfill site off of Sheridan. They know that. We don't even know what the results will be. So that's why Broward County can't necessarily be our savior, in this discussion. Okay. One question. I'm gonna come back to you. Let me get other questions respectfully. Okay. I'm gonna come back. Yes, sir.
How many miles do an incinerator need to be from a neighborhood in order for it to be safe?
I'm not sure if the surrogate marker is distance from a neighborhood. I would imagine that regulators would want to know what the emission rates are, what the concentration is, and that can be measured. The disposal of the ash, the byproduct, the operations, there are prescriptive requirements that would need to be met. And their engineers would obviously design the facility to perhaps meet that. What we do know is the newest incinerator I think in America, it would be the one up in Palm Beach County. There are over 200 violations since 2015 in terms of emission exceedances, meaning that the emittance that have been recorded exceeds the limit, right? You have some complaints from nearby neighbors on smell, all right? So we do know that these things are factored into the place, but we just know that Airport West is too close. Yes, sir. Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
Wayne, how are you? Question for you in reference to, we know nothing's free. If they do vote for the airport location on the 6th, who's footing the bill for all of the things that I know you're going to do to fight this with the attorney, all the things you laid out? Is it a joint venture with other cities? Have you guys sat down, which I would imagine you have, and looking at what this is going to cost?
Yeah. So we realize that there will be a fiscal impact. Okay. A fiscal impact that we're willing to take to protect our homes, to protect our safety. Now, the question becomes how much, and the disbursement and partnership. As I've stated, we have allies. One, allies who have recently defeated Miami-Dade County in lawsuits. We believe that the combined resources of the city of Miramar, our neighboring cities who are willing to participate, those amounts haven't been determined, but we do have a process so that our neighboring cities can help offset the costs or the direct costs that we would need. And in terms of the environmental organizations and the foundations, they have resources and they have fought these fights before. So the point that I will make is that the city of Miramar is not alone in this, not in just support, but we would not be alone from a fiscal standpoint, because that site means so much to so many that resources would be available for that. And if it goes to the regulatory process, some objections do not require funds, right? When the EPA looks at this, right, there's public input in that process. All of these regulators, there's a part of the public that gets a chance to have a voice. Our voice will be there and it will be loud. That's not in a courtroom. That is our consultants, which would be a cost, dealing with public servants for the various administrators. Okay?
Okay, and if I'm waiting,
One question.
it was a comment, it was a quick comment. The attendance that I'm looking at is unbelievable. But one thing that concerns me, and maybe a suggestion, whether it's Pembroke Pines or Miramar and staff in both cities, where's the kids? Where's the high school kids? They're our future. They're the ones going to be living here. If we could get kids to go to the 6th meeting, or just having a room full of them with those shirts, those kids have to be involved in this. And I would imagine they could get community
All right,
hours.
that was your comment. That
Okay.
was your comment.
Thank you.
It's okay. It's noted. And do know our kids are participating. In one of our press conferences, one of our Miramar's Youth Advisory Council Anna, can you stand up? If you would have seen, she is the youth president of the Sierra Club. If you would have seen her testimony on what the impacts of this incinerator would not do just on our community, but how it would impact her peers, children. So our children are involved. It's just that when you have a 9 o'clock commission meeting in Miami-Dade County, it's very difficult to take kids out of instruction and learning environment for this. That is why we are here to represent them. So do know our youth are involved. But great observation, it's noted, and we will explore additional ways. So from a community standpoint, we can have our youth have a visible leading role and working with, great students like Anna, who represents our city so well. Yes.
I just wanted to know,
Yeah.
I wanted to know if there's been any conversation with our biggest neighbor here, Memorial Miramar Hospital. I work over there, to try and gain their support in this, since they are our neighbor and it's going to impact employees and absolutely the whole community.
Yeah. So in terms of direct involvement with Memorial, there is not a direct strategy per se with Memorial. However, many of Memorial's employees like yourself have been involved and vocal in the process. But we are always open for additional collaborations. We have just been focused on the factors of the decision process and the decision makers, ensuring that the Board of County Commissioners were well informed, or at a minimum had information from our perspective and point of view that would not be given by the mayor and staff, so that they would have balance in contemplating their decisions. But we're open to all of the collaborations from our entities of influence to help us in this fight. Thank you. Yes, sir.
So good evening and thank you. I've got lots of questions. I'm only gonna ask one.
Yes.
I'm very intrigued by the Medley owner who wants to swap dollar for dollar for the Airport West. What's the benefit to him? No one does something for nothing.
No. So, I mean, well, first of all, the property owner is a very wealthy family, right? They're very well, they're not speculators. I mean, they're a wealthy family, very smart in terms of, they have a very valuable piece of property as it relates to industrial use and solid waste disposal, because it has all of the permitting, all of the zoning already in place. The fact that funds would be contributed to a foundation obviously contributes to a tax strategy as it relates to their estate, which there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. So in short, that would be the reason for a tax benefit, perhaps from to offset, profits, earnings from other ventures. It's a very smart play, and it's a play that I think would benefit, our environment and us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi. Is there been any studies on incinerators in local populations?
Yes, there are plenty. And many of those studies say that incinerators just are not safe in communities.
Well, that's like a simple answer, but if I could just finish my thought. I went to look that up everywhere from cities of Taiwan, United Kingdom, North Carolina. There's respiratory problems, cancers, okay, that is detrimental. Everybody's talking about the fish and the wildlife, which is great. I love Miramar. I live on a lake. It's beautiful. I love the wildlife. But what I love more is these kids. Okay, you know how many elementary schools and high schools we have around here, West End? We're all in the same boat. We just cannot afford, because there's not one good study of an incinerator working out. It causes cancer, causes respiratory abnormalities. And who shows up first with those abnormalities? The children.
Yes, so yes, your answer to your question is yes. All of those studies are part of our backup. It's part of the information we've been giving to the county commissioners. That is why we're fighting so hard. The reasons why we're fighting, as I stated before, are human health, our water supply, and the environment, okay? We have to make all of them a priority.
I agree.
Because even though we prioritize our children, we're first, but it won't be us without, don't you know those bonneted bats? They're a part of our ecosystem. Don't you know the Everglades is the filter of water and supply, and when you turn on your water, the city of Miramar has to get it from somewhere. So we just can't protect our children. We got to protect the whole process. But what I'm saying is you're preaching to the choir. We have a technical deck that is voluminous.
Yeah,
So we can't go back and forth. I know you're preaching. I know. I know. But
about
sir,
the
Yeah.
risk of cancers.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's there, sir. Respectfully, it's there,
Okay.
and it's been communicated. This is a high-level presentation. Do know, I think I talked about the ash, the PFAS, the metals in the air, the carcinogenic
Well, what I want to
output.
affect
Okay,
the population, the cancers.
Sir. sir, we're on the same side. I'm confirming this information is being presented, even talking about asthma rates, respiratory problems, the forever chemicals, everything. So thank you for your comment. It's been noted. I'll be around and we can have some more discussion in terms of to the level. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. Have you had any talks with the cities of Miami Lakes and Miami Gardens to see if they are opposed to something like this?
Yeah, we do have allies from Miami-Dade County who believe and agree that incineration should not be contemplated. So we are. The unique situation that we find ourselves in is that we are outside of the jurisdictional boundary of Miami-Dade County. We are not their constituents. We don't pay taxes there. We aren't voters there. Then they simply just are not beholden to us. And when you think about it, when folks are up for election, right? Okay. Yeah, I don't think that Miami-Dade County commissioners hate children or hate our children, right? But if it came down between their children or our children, right? And that's why as a city, we did not get into this, our community versus their community. We're one community, right? No one should be placed in a situation where in Doral, you know, we can say, even though those people moved around that incinerator, right? And I'll remind you to add some balance to this, just like we moved around White Rock Quarry, right? Right? I'm just keeping it real. Those folks in Doral moved to that area with the incinerator there. Miami-Dade County allowed development around. Now, the city of Doral did not do that building. It was Miami-Dade County that allowed those homes to be built around that incinerator, all right? We lose focus on the main goal when we get into, well, they moved out there, they can't complain, right? When you have elected officials who are beholden to those very residents.
Yeah, I think that's
So-
why I think the Miami Lakes and Miami Gardens could be good allies. So
They have been, and their representatives are not in support of it there. Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Jerry Estrada, and I'd like to thank you and all the commission for all that you've done, all the incredible education and all the information you've given us. And I'm behind you. I'm right there. I'll go with you wherever we got to go. But I've been calling around some of my friends. I'm president of the homeowner association. I've been contacting some residents. A lot of people don't know about the incinerator. So my question to you, my question is there a way that we can still keep on educating more the general public that in their own backyard, this is
Yes.
happening so that they can
Yes.
join the fight?
So we understand that despite the number of mediums that we communicate, platforms that we post on, meetings that we have, right? Billboards, that the truth of the matter is we all are living our lives. We all are living our lives. We're working. We have the kids at soccer, just everything, right? Doctor's appointments. We're living life. Many of you probably didn't find out until a few days before the meeting that something was going on. Don't you know we got notified maybe 5 or 4 days before the commission meeting in September of 2023 when we had our very first meeting? And from that moment, I personally have been out telling folks and sounding the alarm and posting, and we started our petition. We have over 20,000, maybe even more, and I don't even know, that was a month ago, people that have signed the petition. That is why we're saying stay engaged. Don't let the noise of the other things of us living our lives make us forget about this. That's why I say share it with your neighbors. If everyone shares it with their neighbors, share it with their friends, we talk about everything else, just continue to spread the word. It will get out. Grassroots was what makes it happen. But your city will continue to promote, inform, educate, but we need you to help share to your sphere of influence, to your places of worship, to the athletic leagues you may be a part of, your civic organizations. Just continue to spread the word. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Messam.
Good
for your
job
strong
last
support.
week too. Good job. Good job.
Thank you. I just want to say a few things. Thank you, the residents that were there on the other day at the commission meeting. We stood strong and we stand united, and we're going to oppose this and we're going to win this. And thank you for your strong stance, along with Robin Barterman. Mayor, my question is simple. Obviously, we build an incinerator. Let's assume it goes to the Airport West, which we don't want. You still have a byproduct of ash that's going to be generated. That's going to end up in our landfills. That's going to seep into our groundwater. Okay, so I'm still trying to figure out where the benefit is of the incinerator if you're still going to create mounds of ash that still have to go to a landfill. Isn't that the same thing as putting the garbage in the landfill? Where's the benefit?
There's no benefit in our estimation. The landfill would be co-located on the same site. Now, here's the truth of the matter. Now I'm putting on my my contractor hat. All right, I'm a contractor. The basis of design for the incinerator will incorporate, to the best of their ability, engineering controls to serve as caps or barriers to prevent seepage and leakage of the toxic material into our natural resources. There will be a process that will have to be shown that they are achieving that. Now, there would have to be some kind of lining underneath the landfill, right? Which I still try to understand that once it's built and now that you have this ash landfill on top of it, who actually goes underneath to make sure and check and monitor that it's not, right? How does that work, right? So to your point, it doesn't make sense. And that's why all of the environmental organizations are against it, because once it's built, you only have one chance. They have to be correct 100% every day, every time, every moment that incinerator is in operation, which, by the way, will be the nation's largest incinerator ever built.
Oh.
Okay? 4,000 ton per day. Okay? So, and we already see, I told you about the over 200 plus violations up in, right? So in other words, one mistake can be a fatal mistake and thus unforgivable, because you can't undo that type of you. But thank you again so much for your support and your
Thank you, Mr.
representation,
Mayor.
sir.
Appreciate your strength.
Yes, ma'am.
So we know the whys and the wheres, but that proposed facility looks awfully expensive. And I know that you want to keep the politics out of it, but is there any way to find out if the mayor or the commission board gets a financial advantage from this site now and not in 10 years from now, when it's uncovered that they made millions personally off of pushing this site over here?
Well, first of all, this rendering is not what it's going to, it's not even consistent with their master plan, because their master plan says that little one single, is that a flute or flume? Right, flues? Yeah. That single flue, no, it's actually would be 4 flues. It would be 4 of them, not just one. Now, I caution folks when they say folks benefit personally, right? I don't go there. I don't go there. We have to give elected officials and public servants the benefit of the doubt that they are trying to do and make the best decision for their community and who they represent, right? Mayor Daniela Levine Cava inherited an issue in Miami-Dade County where that county has kicked the can down the road in solving their solid waste disposal. She didn't even commission the study that she had to use as a basis for her recommendation, which was to build a consolidated campus with an incinerator, and they had to find the location in District 12 in Commissioner Bermudez's district, because no other 12 commissioners would welcome this facility in their district. So they had to find an area in District 12. That's why the original 3 sites were contemplated. The current site, Medley, and Airport West. Those are the cards Mayor Levine Cava was dealt with. So I'd like to be fair in that process. I can't speak to anyone personally, you know, but this will be $1.5 billion, right? It sounds like a lot, but the economics, I mean, garbage is expensive. That's why I said once you build it, you have to feed it. Their system, the Miami-Dade County produces twice as much garbage than any community in the nation. That's coming from their statistics, okay? They can afford this. The operations will be able to fund this. So the money really isn't the issue. It's just a matter of where they're gonna put it. Yes, sir.
Mayor, Mr. Mayor, thank you for convening this forum. My concerns are that every incinerator does not comprehensively address the problems of landfill, ash residue, particulate emission into the air, and it's just there and it continues to compound. My question to you, sir, have we explored emerging technologies? The one that comes to mind is plasma gasification. Now, it's still very much in its infancy, but there are 8 such plants operating in the world. In Japan, China, India, the UK, I believe one in Canada, and there have been a few contemplated, but none here in the United States. This technology, and I don't pretend to be an expert on this, but if it is what the academics say it is, and I've read several summary dissertations on it, it at once addresses all of these problems: minimal landfill, no emission, there is no ash component to it, and it's ARC technology that is quite frankly above my pay grade.
Yeah.
My question is, have you and the principals of Dade County explored this? We're going to spend 1.5
No, it's
billion
not
dollars.
we, they.
Okay,
They.
oh, okay.
They.
So,
Not,
what, well, what I
hey,
want,
don't, not so fast,
No.
because if that's the recommendation in Broward, it'll be
no, what I,
1.3.
What-
So,
what I don't want to do, I'm firmly not in my backyard camp.
Yeah.
However, I want to tender an option, a solution. We have to
Yes.
come up with something else.
so excellent question. Thank you, sir, for that question.
And if I could just say, if you were, or not you, if the principals of Miami-Dade were to call up
Westinghouse Plasma Corporation, for example, of which I'm not a representative, and say, hey, we have 4,000 tons of garbage to be processed every day. They will send a jet plane here to get you and give you a comprehensive overview of this for peer review.
Yeah, great question. The master plan study, to my understanding, that's being done right now for the Broward Solid Waste Authority is looking at every commercially viable option to responsibly manage garbage. That study is going on right now. The Solid Waste Authority is having a series of public forums right now. I'm not sure if the first one took place already. Last week, we'll communicate the second one. That is a question. We won't wait for you to ask it. We'll bring that there to see if that specific technology is being explored and entertained. Now, one thing to keep in mind, when you have municipalities or authorities that have the responsibility of processing trash for a large county or metro or region, the solutions have to be proven. They have to be viable. They have to fit an economic model that can be sustained. And that's the challenge we have. We can't just hire anyone to come pick up garbage because we need to ensure that they're taking it to a place where it's legally allowed to be disposed. So that's all part of the process. And that new technology could very well be viable. It could be very well, but we'll make sure that that's included. But here is where the facts are. When we say zero waste, it does not mean that there's no garbage. To accomplish zero waste, from our perspective as a solution, it is to reduce the garbage stream so that mass incineration is no longer required. Is no longer required. Whether that incorporates that technology along with composting, along with recycling, however that mix of solutions is what we have to challenge ourselves. For us to accomplish that, you are going to be pressed, you are going to be challenged, because now we're asking you to change your behavior. Look at yourselves on how much garbage you put out. When you're in the when you're in the grocery store, do you think about the packaging, the things that you love and purchase, what it's made out of, and where it's going to go after your personal consumption? Think about it. Raise your hand if you actually think about that. You know what? I believe you because the conscious people are in this room. So I say it'll be higher than normal. But if I was to ask the rest of Miramar, it probably would be less than 10%, right? So I'm just saying, so what I'm saying though is that it's going to take all of us to do these, right? And from a regulation standpoint, communities and cities and countries that do this best, they tax you. They make you think about, if I throw this out, it's going to cost me X number of dollars. You don't think about that right now because from a regulation standpoint, it doesn't happen. And the minute the city of Miramar puts an ordinance that says for every garbage, plastic or single-use plastic, we're going to tax you, those commission chambers are going to be filled on how we're imposing on your lives and all this. I'm just saying, right? So these are the things we need to start thinking about, okay? Let me speed up. Yes, sir. Because I have to get you all home and I still have to cook dinner.
Major, thank you. First of all, thank you so much to you and all your staff. I mean, you have been doing an excellent, incredible job. So thank you to you and all the guys that we have here because big round of applause. You know, I'm not shy. I'm going to come and say what I think. So I'm trying to be part of the solution. So what you said is specifically what I think we need to do, right? We need to lead by example. Reduce, reuse, recycle. So if we can do that in Miramar, we can show Miami that they lost 18 months doing nothing on those three things. They complain that they have a lot of trash. Yes, but they have done nothing at all. So let's leave the example. My invitation is not a question. It's not a question. It's an invitation, right? You push us and then we push all together to make sure that we are reducing our trash.
Yes.
Now, my question and my challenge for you, I love football, right? And then you have been a great head coach. You have the game plan for every single different situation that we're gonna have. We are the number 12 player in the game. How do you want to use us? You don't want us to scream when we are on offense. You want us to scream when we are in defense, right? Let's make this a home field advantage. So let us know, how can we help you? I know that you have 4 things there. In my mind, with all the respect, that is not good enough for us to go out and to push our HOAs, to push our neighbors, to push everybody with one single game plan to say, this is what we need to do. We will do it. We'll respect whatever play you are calling on the field. Let us manage the field, the spectators.
Well, first off, my response is that thank you all for cheering so loud while we were on defense on September 17th. Because you were there, you were loud, you screamed, they heard you, and you executed the plan superbly. So thank you. As we solidify the next step, which is November 6th, we will do the same. We will inform you, we will activate you, and we will prepare you. We didn't just say come load on a bus. We had several meetings. We actually let you all know what it was going to look like inside of those chambers. We even talked about the security process. We even talked about we're going to be there for hours. We have food for you. We wanted to make sure that you were comfortable. We didn't want you to worry about anything. So do know our final strategy for November 6th, that we are going to activate our most valuable players, which are you, and we will be prepared, and we know that you will be prepared because it won't be your first rodeo, because you won't be neophytes next time. You've scored your first touchdown, right? Still not time to be spiking the ball. We still have another quarter to play, okay? But great observation, and thanks so much. And it's our final question.
Thanks again, Mayor. It's kind of funny because I guess, we are neighbors. We live in the same neighborhood. And I was thinking exactly the same thing. We are here, we're all together. You had a plan for the previous meeting. So the question is, what do we do now? How can we help? How can we get involved? Other than speaking to our neighbors, et cetera. But I think you already have answered that. I just thought that it was kind of funny that living in the same neighborhood, we're thinking the same thing. And thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Come on, Anaga. Let's give a big round of applause for Anaga. Yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to say a few quick remarks. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, so I just wanted to say, as the chair of the Broward Sierra Group Junior team, the Sierra Club is completely against all forms of incineration, and we recognize that the term waste to energy is just a greenwashing term for incineration. And I'm also just here as a regular 16-year-old high school student who's really concerned about her future. And I really do think that Miami-Dade is jumping too quickly to rebuild this Doral incinerator. And I think in Miami, the proponents of this incinerator, really they see the effects of it as kind of something in the future, right? But what they don't realize is that kids like me are the future. My friends and schoolmates, we are the future, and we're the ones that are going to be affected by this, and our kids and grandkids later down the road as well. And so they don't realize that we're going to be the ones that have to bear the brunt of all of these effects. And I really do hope that this decision is reconsidered because our future is at stake. Thank you.
Yes. Don't we have the best students here in Miramar? So our students are involved and engaged. So there's always one, right? Yes, sir. Final question, yes.
Sales, and I drive around, I have multiple properties and I drive around the sub-community.
To the mic.
I happen to be in sales and I happen to drive around all.
Okay,
South Florida.
question, sir.
So my question to you is, as we're attacking this issue with the incinerator for the city of Miramar, and I'm glad the representative of the city of Pembroke Pines and you're all working together. I'd like you to also consider, as you guys keep giving authority to people to overbuild the city of Miramar, in the city of Pembroke Pine, in the city of, there's other places, those effects will come back to haunt us and these things. So consider that as you guys give approval for these guys to build and build and build, and traffic gets worse and worse and worse. That's not under consideration, but I hope you think about that as you do that.
Yes, thanks. Great observation. And do know that there is an exhaustive process as it relates to development and growth in all cities, but specifically in the city of Miramar in terms of our master plan. And we do our best to be responsible, in managing growth. But those points are definitely noted and not just brushed to the side. And they are, we do respond to that. Thank you all. Everyone, thanks so much thanks everyone for coming out this evening and for your participation. Yes.
There is a black Chevy Silverado blocking the exit. Can we have you quickly address that